All right, welcome everyone to our next interview on our series of interviews. I've been very excited for this one. Mesgen Amanov. Am I saying the name right, Mesgen?
Yeah, Mesgen Amanov.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And he is a grandmaster of chess. One of, I think there's approximately 1,700. I just looked up on Google currently out there, and he's a grandmaster, and I've gotten to know him pretty well in the last several months. He's a Tesla fan, a Tesla investor, and he had heard me reference chess a couple times in some of our chats, and so he had reached out to me, and we had connected on Twitter, and he's since tutored me a couple of times on chess. Very kindly of him to share some of his ideas or ways that helps would help improve my game, which was helpful. And yeah, Mesgen, welcome to our channel. I'm excited to chat with you about chess and Tesla and all that stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got into chess and Tesla, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Emmet and Matt. I'm a big fan. Well, as you said, yes, I reached out probably last year after seeing you on the Dave's Lee channel, and I've been watching Tesla since 2017. I mean, that's where I started investing in Tesla, and it just started as something very small and became almost like an obsession. So yeah, 2017 May, that when it exactly happened. I just looked it up, and it's my business partner. His name is Gary Aronovich. We have a chess site together with him, and he told me about an opportunity to invest in this company. And before that, I actually never invested in anything. Yes, so I knew about stocks, I knew what's happening, but I never had. I was never like really ready for it. And then his friend Peter Titus, who is actually a professional trader, he told me that he could help us out, and we, with a small group of like 4 or 5 people, we started our like a Telegram group, and he was taking care of most of the trades and everything, and that's how I got into it.
Cool.
Yep.
So you guys invested together as like a group of people, kind of doing the same similar trades, similar strategy around investing in Tesla. Is that right?
Each of us had their own account, but it was like connected to like through interactive brokers, and he could place trades for us, and we would just discuss it and all.
Oh,
and
nice.
This is how it's all just started.
Nice. And you guys do some kind of covered calls, I understand. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, you have some, Matt and I and others in Tesla Twitterverse talk about covered calls. Often people talk about short-term, like weekly covered calls, picking up pennies or nickels in front of a steamroller. It's like the way people call it. But you have a little bit of a different covered call strategy, a little longer term, and seems to work. We can talk about that in a minute. But first, with regards to chess, I mean, where did you grow up, and how did you get into chess growing up? I mean, chess is a fascinating game to me. It's been around for thousands of years. Tell me about where your background growing up is, and how you got into chess, and how you became a grandmaster.
Yeah. So to begin with, I grew up in Turkmenistan. It used to be one of the part of the USSR countries, which dissolved in 1991. We became an independent country. Mm-hmm. And in Turkmenistan, chess is, I would say, on a good level compared to other sports. And so my father, he was an amateur in chess, and he taught me. Mm-hmm. His level is, in terms of rating, I would say about 1800, 1900. So this is like a strong amateur, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I grew up playing with him, like starting at age of 4. Mm-hmm. And basically then I went to a chess school. I competed in all the championships in Ashgabat. This is the city I grew up, capital, and in Turkmenistan championship. So I won many of those. And let's see, at age of 15, I remember I achieved master level. So this is already something like became more serious. And at age of 15, I went to university. So I went to university pretty early, and it was for 4 years, and I graduated University of Sport and Tourism. So basically, where I chose this university because it wouldn't prevent me from studying chess. It was supporting like professional athletes. So, and like back then, let's say 20 years ago, being a master, which is like 2200 level chess master at that age, considered to be like decent. Like right now, if you want to be a professional at age of 15, you have to be like a grandmaster. Like here in US, like here in Turkmenistan, it was something like new, like it was something good. So yes, I got into the university basically without any examination. They just look at my chess profile and just said like, okay, we need someone like you. So nice. I got in there 4 years in that university, which is 2 years of like hard studying and then 2 years basically practice. I would already become a coach at age of 17. So at 17, I started teaching already. So it was like a part of the program in the university that most of the time you actually teach, then you actually learn. So it's very strange. It's very different from how things are run here in the United States and in the world. And so, yes, by the age of 19, then we have to, obligatory, we have to go to the army, like no matter what. So I did serve for 1.5 years. And it's 2 years for those who didn't graduate university. So I had to go there. And it was also like sport-related army, basically, where I could still continue doing chess. And they would allow me to sometimes go home and just like study and go to like tournaments. I couldn't go, like I couldn't travel back then. But so another 1.5 years. So basically now I'm 19 and a half, almost 20. Right after I finished army, I went to United States. And that was like 2007. That's when I first came here. And back then I was international master, which is one title below grandmaster. Came here for chess tournament, played one tournament, realized I'm not good enough. And at that moment, big tournaments like chess Olympiads were happening and everything. So I went travel more, became a grandmaster. And in 2008, returned to United States. 2009 was already a norm officially. So basically in 2009, that was when 13 years ago, at age of 21, I became a grandmaster, which is considered to be late now if you want to do it professionally. But back then it was still, I remember, because I was applying for a green card here, I was second highest rated player after Hikaru Nakamura, who is very famous chess grandmaster in the United States. So by that age, I was, second highest within the 2021 year, like still youth type of chess players. But there were many more grandmasters who were higher than me. And I don't know exactly what place I was, but I just knew like when we were preparing documents, like I could say that I was second at the moment.
So did you say when you were a kid, you actually went to like a chess school? Am I understanding that right? I'm picturing like a boarding school for like chess phenoms kind of in my mind. How far off is that?
So before university, right? So it was. So basically, there's no such thing as private lessons in Turkmenistan. Everything is studied in a group and supported by government. So basically, you go to a school, not a boarded school. No, just after school. Like let's say if we finish school, let's say at 3-4 p.m., we just take a bus to the chess school. And a coach with, let's say, who would have like between 5 to 10 students in a very small class would just give us lessons for 2 hours. But we would just be there much longer because we'd play chess, play table tennis, ping pong, and then just come back to chess session again. Just hang out basically there. It's like friends, like what do at home basically. So we just hang out and play. Not a boarding, but just after school, basically, we can say it.
No, that makes sense. But so, going through that whole history of yours, I mean, you've put in a tremendous amount of time into this profession of yours now. Back when you were a kid growing up, you clearly weren't making gobs of money from it. But you were committed to it. So you had to have both the ability and it seems the passion to kind of stick with it over such a long, extended period of time. Do you have a true love of the game and of finding kind of new techniques and strategies? Because I would imagine a lot of people that maybe have the capability might burn out along the way, or may just find other things that they're more passionate about.
Yeah. Actually, I skipped over that part where like how you actually become a grandmaster, how you actually like get to that level. It's something what I try to tell to my students, and some of them look into the disbelief that it's actually true. So basically, you have to take. It's basically a professional job, like let's say 9 to 5 job, and you do it like 8 hours every day. So you basically sit at home with the book. Back then, no computers, so we grew up basically in Turkmenistan without computers. So let's say at age of, I think when I was like 12, when I was already an expert, that where I made the most improvement, because you just basically sit at home, you take a book, you set up a chessboard in front of you, and you study for 6 to 8 hours every day. And every time you have a new book, that new author, like this grandmaster, let's say one of my favorite books when I grew up was Aaron Nimzovich, but a book called My System. And I studied like crazy. And then when you finish the book, you're almost like tearing up, saying like, oh, it's finished. And Nimzovich was my coach. Like he was my coach for that 1 month that I dedicated to that book. So yeah, you can't just like read the book through. You have to make moves on the board. You have to think. You have to calculate the variations and everything. So yes, it's probably good 6 years of 8 hours every day until you get to the level of like a grandmaster. So I don't know if you multiply, but they have this rule of 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
I definitely did those 10,000 for sure. And it's not just studying. You have to go to tournaments, playing, and I could go a little bit deeper in explaining how, like, what actually motivated me, because growing up into Turkmenistan and just playing there wouldn't be enough of motivation. And that was the only hope for us to actually go travel, because it's not that simple to go travel abroad. We don't have much money there. And if you're like a top player, so government could help you with the accommodations and travel to go to the tournaments. And that was my motivation, like going to Spain, France, all these countries. I've been to many, many countries. I don't know how many, I lost count, but traveling was the big motivation for me. So this is the love that I developed. It was, I guess I was just too excited to get out of the country and just travel around the world, meet new friends. And of course, there is a true love for chess too. There's a passion, because if you don't look for the truth on the chessboard, if you're just there for norms or for titles, you won't make it there. You have to truly love chess. And then, because you then lose time, you never think of 8 hours. Oh, I have to study 8 hours. They just go so fast. It's just like, you put your head, you start thinking, just boom. It's like 7, 8 hours are gone, and you just like don't know how, because you just dissolve in time.
yeah.
So this is what I try to teach my students, that if you're finding the truth in chess, you will get any norm, everything. You just have to like truly love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the chess grandmaster, that's 2,500 or above. Is that the score? Is that right? 2,500 above?
Yeah, there's a chess rating, right? There's international chess rating. There's the United States rating, which I only got when I got here, obviously. So yeah, 2,500 FIDE. FIDE is a Federation International des Échecs. It's a federation that's responsible for the titles, ratings, and all official tournaments. And so first norm that you get with FIDE, it's 2,300 for men, and it's called FIDE Master.
Okay.
And it goes after, let's say, at locally you get 2,200, which is Master, and FIDE Master is 2,300, recognized by this World Federation. Then it goes 2,400, which is now International Master. And it's not, Emmet, only just numbers. You can't just get number 23, 24 and you'll get it. No, you also have to get norms. So, for example, for International Master, you have to get 3 norms, which what it means 3 norms, you have to play separate tournaments. On 3 separate occasions, you have a chance to score that norm, meaning you have to beat those international masters, you have to play with them. And let's just say this, 10 players in one tournament, you have to play against 9 people, and out of those 9 games, you have to win, let's say 6, maybe make 1 draw, and only allowed to lose twice. So basically 6.5 points out of 9 would be a normal standard norm requirements to get an international master norm. And then when you become international, same with a grandmaster requirements, when you have to play against grandmaster and you have to get this type of scoring. So, and you have to get that rating too.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. All the hard, you have to show very strong performance. Basically, you have to show that you're 2,600 in order to score like 2,500.
I'm always curious, like on the chess.com app and stuff, like the score just updates automatically as you do it. I mean, there's got to be some, I guess there's some algorithm or something programmed in to show what your score is like real time as you win or lose a match. How does that work?
Yeah.
You know?
So this is online rating and they have FIDE rating, right? They're 2 completely different things. Okay. And on chess.com, the ratings are way higher than you truly actually are. For example, let's say if you take, it's not for everyone, by the way. It's not for everyone. It's actually fluctuates. It's different. Let's say Hikaru Nakamura and his blitz rating has like right now 3,200.
Wow, that's pretty high.
3,200, and it's ridiculous, right? Because in fact, his chess rating is 2,750, right? FIDE. So it's 450 points different, and that's blitz because he plays enormous amount of blitz, so many games. Plus, he's one of the best in the world. So he's just so good with mouse. He's just so quick, and I still don't know how they do this. It's crazy, crazy high level. Because I was talking to some of my friends, grandmaster. They say like the way they play blitz, this 5-minute or 3-minute game. Yeah,
I saw you do one once, and I was like, "What? How is that crazy? Yeah. How do you even move the mouse that fast?"
But them, the way they play 3-minute game is like for me playing classical game. Like if I play classical game, like 1.5 hours, the quality of his game at 3 minutes is similar to my long thinking game. That's how crazy high level this is. So yeah, so this is online rating, and let's say. My online rating is not like crazy. My maximum rating is like 2,700 something, right? And it's because I really don't play much. If I just sit and just start playing online like crazy, like Nakamura, like make it my job and stream and everything, I could reach something like 2,900 probably within 1-2 months if I just sit and do it. But it's very addictive. And you saw me like once playing Bullet, right? But it's like a 1-minute game. Like you basically just throw pieces, like fast, like you try not to blunder, basically, and just playing it so fast. And at the end of the day, no benefit, basically, if you're playing Bullet. If you're playing Blitz, like 3-minute, 5-minute, there's some benefit. But 1-minute Bullet, just the speed of your hand clicking and not ability not to blunder quickly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And one other thing is you teach a class of kids. What's your company's name again? And you teach like a class, right? And you have some really good kids, right? Some of your kids have become grandmasters. Is that right?
So when I came to the United States, that was 2007, 2008. I started teaching, right? The way playing tournaments and teaching. Start meeting new kids, and one parent started recommending to another parent, to another student. So this is how I got into teaching. In 2008, I started teaching. In 2010, I opened the Chess Academy here in Glenview, where I live in the state of Illinois. And when I say Chess Academy, like people maybe think it's too official, but no, it was basically in my house that I was renting back then on the basement floor. I just made it like a mini chess school, where I could fit like 18, 15, 14 kids. And we would just have group classes, weekly group classes. And I would do it Saturday and Sunday, and 2 different groups. Start teaching there. I was doing it regularly. So I got to the point where I got completely booked, no more spots. And in 2011, that's when some breakthrough came out. I mentored my first world champion student. So none of my students became grandmasters. Some of them became international masters, but I did mentor 3 world champions eventually. So the very first one was Wonder Liang. He was 6 years old when he came to me, and he was already on a decent level. His dad was a good chess player, taught him, and basically from age of 6 we studied 1 year. And in the world championship, he got first place. So became world champion.
Wow.
I got some recognition back there, not big because we didn't make anything big out of this. Also, it was 2011. The social media is still low. It's not like much happening. Just people, just like some newspaper here and there, and just like an interview, and that's it. And then again, grinding, playing. In 2014, something. I made this decision because I started to teach way more than playing, and my level started going like really down as a chess player, and that was frustrating because I started losing more. So basically, my peak rating in the United States, the United States Federation rating, I had 2618. So 2618, and I dropped it all the way to probably 2480. So I lost like 140 points. That's huge. Within a span of like 2 years, considering that my peak rating was in 2011, 2012, where I felt the strongest. I was doing very well. And in 2013, 14, overwhelming student flow, and then just like teaching more, less time for myself. And of course, there's a fine difference between teaching and playing, because playing is more stressful and less money. So the two things that kind of, if you're not top 10 in the world, just to clarify, you're not doing great financially. But okay, let's say, okay, you can easily survive being top 50 in the world, like no problem, okay? But like, I don't know if I even can say financial freedom if you top 10. Like if you top 2, like there are few players who has financial freedom, like Magnus Carlsen and probably Hikaru Nakamura right now, maybe a couple more like Garry Kasparov. But they're just so few. And I don't know, being professional chess player, I read an article. I'll just give you for example, the numbers. The 10th player, he makes about $200,000 a year. Just like some rough numbers. Back when I was reading it, I remember it was like 160, but it's only they count tournaments, right? Prizes and tournaments and appearance fees. So just let's put it roughly like $200,000 for a 10th player in the world. And then you go below that. So you go to top 20, top 30, it will just go less, right? And if you actually teach, you're already basically there. Like you're already there. Like, okay, you could be top 20, top 30 range of, let's say, if we're just speaking plainly money. And also you remove that stress because you don't know if you're going to win or not. So you have to make living, and sometimes you travel and you play tournament after tournament, you can't win money. And then it just becomes very shaky. And yes, in 2014, basically made this decision, like, I'm going to quit chess, like professionally. And right at that time, one of the, I'll just call him People right now because I didn't know him that much. Someone I knew, his name is Gary Aronovich. In 2014, December, he just wrote to me. He said, hey, man, like, I have these ideas, like, you know me from here, there. I said, yes. So his dad is a chess teacher too. And he said, well, let's just do lessons. Let's record stuff and let's just do something with chess. And in 2015, something big happened. We started to working on a project. So we basically opened ImproveMyChess.com. At that time, believe it or not, was the very first and only company who had membership-based lessons. But there were like courses around the world, like we should buy courses and everything, but no one had a structural program where you sign up for a first month and then you just like constantly going to receive each month's like training. So we started that. We were working on that for 9 months before we launched. Our model was poker sites. So poker sites had those memberships. So we had to copy a lot of ideas and just like membership areas and everything. And we launched it in 2015 in September. And this was the breakthrough where I realized, yes, for sure, I don't need to play anymore. I can just do my teaching in this program. And even though at the beginning, none of the programs, nothing brings you money, like for like 1 year or two, like we were just like recording, doing so many hours of work. And he's from Milwaukee, and we were meeting in Chicago. I would go to Milwaukee, nonstop travels here and there. And that's basically how the first company, Improve My Chess, was born. It started doing very well. Like after 2 years, we were traveling here and there. We got recognized. We were even sponsoring some chess players in the United States. So things were going well. And then we decided, okay, like things are going well. Let's just keep doing companies, right? And then in 2018, we started a new project, which we called limitlesschess.com. And the idea was just basically we liked what Netflix was doing. Basically what we did is like, we're going to give so much content just for one very low price, just like Netflix does. Because with the program to improve my chess, we have a higher paid membership. We just set up this price, $57 a month, right? And it's only like for 5 lessons, so that's very expensive technically, like for nowadays. But they were like almost like private made, because the student would feel like I'm almost sitting there, like, okay, let's press the pause, think about this. If you thought about that, it was also like almost like a private approach. But with Netflix, it was in 2018 was completely different. So basically, many courses for one price. And yeah, so launched those two. We hired more grandmasters, so it wasn't just me and him. We hired another 6-7 grandmasters who were recording for us constantly, and up until today we do record our lessons. And eventually we got a very big competitor, Magnus Carlsen, who is the world champion, who controls the whole, right, mostly controls everything, all the stream and everything. And he became so big that everything goes there. So now company-wise, we're not that strong like before, but there were good times. So that's the story of like how the companies and teaching. And yeah, one more thing, 2017 was my second world champion, Aren American from United States. And in 2018 was another third world champion, Yuvraj Chennareddy, also world champion under 8 years old. So I got this amazing fame for some time as a chess coach. That's what I got recognized, and that's when I felt accomplished as a chess coach. Something I knew I just do like well. I could teach. I realized I could teach, and up until today, yes, this is what I continue doing. I still teach privately, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, so I'm curious too how maybe your insights into the chess world relate or intersect with your view on investing. One of the things that I was kind of thinking of was in chess, there's always talk of how many moves ahead can you see. And I remember when I was in like a chess club in middle school, I could see like 2, maybe 3 moves ahead, and sometimes I'd forget a couple key things along the way. How many moves ahead do you or would a good grandmaster be able to see? And then do you find that that's a skill set where with a company like Tesla in particular, back in 2017 when you said you got into it, I mean, what you were investing in was the company that was going to look drastically different than what the company actually looked like in 2017. So how did the board of investing in 2017 look different than what was in your mind of where this company was going? And if you could kind of unpack that a little bit, I'd be curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll break it up in like 3 steps. So first step, as how we think. So it all depends on the position. If we have many pieces in the middle game, there are many possibilities. You cannot calculate too long because too many varieties. So let's say if variation is very forced and you force your opponent to play only one move every time and you play only move every time, you could go like 10, 20 moves. There's basically no limit because it's easy. Wow. Pam, 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 force. If the position is like super unknown and so many like variations possible here, there, it's just like sometimes like 3 moves enough. Like sometimes it goes from 3 to 8 moves. You can't go because you're limited by time. So you always have this chess clock that is running, and you have to have a good time management. Otherwise, you're going to burn all your time. So, and you just calculate until you realize that it's all safe, it's all good. You can play it, or until you're winning. But you cannot. You can just be like a maniac and just spend all your time calculating all unnecessary lines where it might not even happen. Your opponent just plays a new move, boom. All time wasted, basically. So that's one thing. So how we think in terms of investing, So that's the second step. I'm like absolute amateur in 2017, 5 years ago. I know, it's just like for me, it's like, I know stocks. Yes, I know they grow. I know you need to save money. So I want to be talking like, I don't know, like, for example, for the listeners, you have audience of super professionals in investing and probably amateurs like me and someone in the middle. So back in 2017, I consider myself a complete amateur. I just start learning what it is like. For me, I started with a $10,000 with that group that I started, right? So it was very small and just to feel what is it like. Yes. And then you open your app and then you have like, oh, it went $300 up and you're like excited, right? And then it went down $400 and then you're like all depressed and all like these little things. It's just like, that's how you, like, it's basically a training, right? So you start training your gut. So your stomach, so very small. I didn't have any long predictions back then. I don't know anything. Slowly. So this is when it really happened. The first time I really felt it. So when was the funding secured tweet?
Is that 2019, I think? Something like that? Is that right?
Yeah, so, summertime, right? Yeah.
19, not 18, right? 19?
I don't think it was 18, but it could have been.
Okay, so let's say 2019, I start feeling it. Like, here's how, because I remember it was, we loaded up more for 380. I had some shares before, yes, we're just like accumulating slowly, not much, but just like, and then I remember like the tweet was announced and we started loading up. And then we all know what happened, and then it went crazy down. And these are the moments I start really, really like understanding and studying. In the low times, I started to really understand what's happening. And I started buying more. Yes, I didn't like. I panicked, and I still started buying more. Still, no options for me. But Peter, the guy who was running our group, he was doing all kind of options already, but not covered calls yet. Nothing that like covered calls, just basically calls, and here and there. And after 2019. That's what I could say, 2019 to 2020, that when my grandmaster research, like I started to really, really research. So Stephen Mark Ryan was recording videos. So we all know Steve. And he was a very, very good starting point for me. I was watching pretty much all videos. Of course, Dave Lee, I was watching all videos by Dave Lee. And that's where I first saw Emmet giving his probably... I know you even gave him interviews before when you were like way younger, but those were not like official. It was like it was different even channel or something.
It was like 2014. Like we did an interview. We were doing like Google meetups with people from Tesla Motors Club forums back then occasionally, and they were recorded. And we did one in particular. I could find it. It's still out there. From 2014.
Yes, those young ones. But then you got new ones with David Lee.
Yeah, the new one. I couldn't do any of those until after I left my job. And even that one in 2014, I'd stay under my alias name, but you know it's me if you look at it.
So what was the year you did like a newer interviews with David Lee? 2020?
It was the end of 2020. Yeah, 2020.
End of 2020.
Yeah, that's when I resigned from my my role at Interactive Brokers, and I was able to kind of talk freely.
Yeah. And another video by Jason DeBolt, you, and these stories like really fascinated me. Like, and that's when like deep dive began. And basically I started putting most of my money there. I started selling other stocks. So I had Amazon, had Google, even some Disney. I remember like some other here and there stocks. I would just start selling them because things it didn't make sense to me to hold those anymore. And I just like start putting everything into Tesla as of just buying more.
Yeah.
Teslas.
Yeah. So what about the? You said you started getting into selling covered calls. What time did you sort of got all into Tesla for the most part, selling a lot of other stocks in the last 2020 around that time, 2019, 2020, and then at some
covered
point,
calls are very interesting. Yeah. Like it's a very interesting theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's how it starts. So again, my business partner, Gary, he's like, man, I have this strategy. Like, you basically can't lose money. Like, it's just like for investors like us, because we don't plan to sell nothing. So for us, it's like free money.
Yeah.
That was basically March. And in April 2021, I started doing covered calls. And I've done, I could say, plenty of them. I like doing them. And so here's how it started. So I did my major, so I'll even disclose like how many contracts I had. There's because I bought several on the different ideas. So basically you can understand level of my amateurish mind about investing on cover calls. Okay. So I truly believe, yes, there's no downside. Okay. Like, no, it's basically because I could always roll over, basically, right? So I was explaining, you can just roll over and you don't have to sell. So basically no problem at all. So April I start. So I placed, I did 6 covered calls let me just read this. So I did, let's say in April, I did May 21 covered calls. I don't know the price back then of the Tesla, but I'll tell you. So I did for 1,100. Okay. And usually I knew $400 so we probably were on the level of 700. So it's pretty safe.
That seems right. Yeah.
It's pretty safe. And I got for 1.72 basically. Right.
Okay.
And I was like feeling great after a few of those successful covered calls, right? Which basically I just let them run out by themselves. So basically I took it for 1 month. I did it for 2 months, right? And I just let them expire. And I did it like 4 times, basically. Buy, sell. And it's like, I was truly like, oh, wow, free money. Like, no problem at all. Yeah. And it's like, why go 400? Like, it never reaches 400. It never reaches that far. So like, let me go closer. And every covered call I got, it was less. It was like 350, 300, 250, 200, just $200 away, you know? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I could go even more. Like, I don't have to go like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I can go like 7 weeks to get more. So I got greedy. Yeah. Okay. I got greedy. And here what happens. September 27th, I place 7 now already 7 covered calls. And I go aggressive. So now, when it was probably 750, I don't know the prices, don't quote me that, but I put, my strike was 900, and already instead of getting it at, let's say, 1.72 or 2, I already start getting these prices, $12 basically. Not like 1.2 like before, $12, right? $12, yeah. And expiration was November 5. So basically I tried to do something on November 5, that's 5 weeks. Yeah. Something like this. And everything's going great. Yes, just everything going great. And then just 1 week prior, Hertz announcement that the renter company that they gonna like they order 100,000 and then stock basically blows up. And here I don't know what's happening. Like I see, but I don't understand why. Let's say if I only get for that trade, let's say couple $1,000, like $4,000, $5,000, $3,000. Why do I owe now 20,000? Like something like this crazy numbers. I just don't understand. I thought I can never lose more than what I got. So I basically thought if I get premium, let's say $4,000, right? Let's say 4,000. I cannot lose more than 4,000. Yeah. This is the level of my, I don't know how to go, stupidity or just beginner understanding.
Because you didn't want to sell your Tesla shares, you know, and you were going to be forced to sell your Tesla shares, it seems like. If it
was because there's the implication of tax I have to pay and everything. It's like, I hated that idea. And I just overall hate the idea of selling any Tesla shares. Yeah. And so I'm in this thing, like because imagine this span. You remember in that night, it jumped $80, something like that, or maybe even more. Yeah. And you can't go to sleep. And I just try to, I talk to my business partner Gary is like, Gary, what's happening? Like, explain to me how do I close this? How do I get rid of?
Yeah.
And he just explains to me about the rollover, and I'm just like learning on the spot basically about this covered call. So I'm just doing this, buying, selling, rollover, just basically to another date. I did that. So we see it. Stock keeps going up.
Yeah.
And now I just go ahead and just tell you, like, I hate covered calls now. Like right now, I don't know if you guys support, like, I just went through this few months that I had this feeling that I wanted to see Tesla red. I didn't want to see Tesla green, you know, and I hated myself. So I also realized basically covered calls is like basically shorting. Even that I didn't, it's not basically shorting, but it's like the mind is like, you don't wish it to go up because you want it to be.
Yeah, if you're caught in trouble on the wrong side of it, then it's like you're really rooting for the stock to come back down.
Exactly, and I hated that feeling. I was like the most Tesla bull patriot, like everything, like, and then I just wanted to be red.
Yeah, and
it's crazy. And then, so basically, at some point, that's the point. Remember, I wrote to you. I asked you, like, okay, Emmet, what do you think I should do? Like, I owe now $160,000 in basically to pay it off, you know?
Yeah.
And like you told me, I have these options, right? I could wait. I can buy half. I can just do this.
Yeah.
It was just like recommendation. I also knew about these options. I just wanted to know, like, what would you do at this spot? Because Tesla stock was going up.
Yeah, it was going up.
So it reached almost 1,300. It was 1,290 when my covered calls price was ridiculous.
Oh.
Okay. And then you get to the point when your fund is not growing because covered call just eating all the profit. So you just like the stock is going crazy up, but it doesn't reflect really because it's just eating it all.
Yeah.
And so what eventually happened is like I waited this moment, right? And stock slowly going down, like slowly chilling out.
Yeah.
And I just basically I could just tell you I just bought back each covered call for approximately an average about $7,000, where the highest it was like $25,000.
Wow.
Per covered call, and I got it for like $7,000.
So
and
like
even
$70 each covered call you to buy.
No, $7,000.
Oh, $7,000. But the contract, how much did you sell them for initially? For like 1,200 or something, and then you bought them back for 7,000 ultimately.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a bad covered call. Like you sold it for 1,200 or something, like $12 with the 100 multiplier.
Yes.
Then you had to buy it back for like 7,000 with the 100 multiplier. So that was this is a good example of covered calls gone wrong, I guess. Is that right? Sort of.
Oh yeah. Even though, like, again, now you think, oh, you have all the shares and they're not covered, and you think you can make some money, but I don't think I'm touching this now. It's like I would prefer other strategies. Like I always wanted to be on the other side. Like, why not buy calls?
Yeah,
like you guys do, right? So, if someone explained to me, the downside. Of covered call. If this is possibility. I would never get into because I don't want that feeling. I basically didn't sleep some nights because like I don't like wake up at 9 a.m. to look at the market. Like I have a very different schedule. Like I go to bed like 5, 6 a.m. wake up at 1 p.m. and I could miss and like these trading hours and something. And I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep properly for a month probably. Like, it was just so annoying. I always have to roll over and. If, like, I don't know if you guys advise on this strategy, but this is something like if you caught up on the wrong side,
it's no good.
You lose so much more than what you get.
Yeah. The way I think of covered calls now, I mean, I've dabbled in it on some weeklies, and it seems to always be the wrong week when I do a weekly covered call. And I end up buying it back for like double the price or what.
You have?
Yeah. So I've been, you gamble, like the first time you gamble, if you lose, you're maybe not as interested in doing it. So for me, it's probably been a good experience that I've had some not so good experiences in early trying to sell covered calls. The only way I think of it now is like if I have X amount of shares, I'm kind of on the fence about selling. Like, let's say I'm on the fence about selling 10% of my Tesla shares, just to fund something for taxes or for just have cash. And I'm not sure I want to sell it or not. Tesla's at $1,000. Well, maybe if I'm not sure, why don't I just set a covered call while I'm waiting to decide? I'll set a covered call for 1,100 strike a month out, and start collecting money on my indecisiveness. And if it goes up to 11, take a limit order to sell those 10% of shares at 1,100, and I'm fine with that because I was on the fence at selling at 1,000. That's how I kind of think of it now. Is like if I'm thinking of selling a small amount of my Tesla shares, and I'm not sure yet, then I'll just put a covered call in order for that percentage of shares only, not for all my shares. That would be way too stressful. So that's how I think of it now. Yeah.
This is exactly what I have right. I have left one covered call that I didn't close.
Okay.
So it expires in September this year, and the price is $14.50.
Okay.
Like, you know, so it's, and I know if it's gonna sell, I'm not touching it. I will let it expire, because now I have to close my margin that I had to borrow to cover this, like 8,000 each time. So basically, I'm letting this 100 shares to sell with a happy face, because it's if it reaches 14.50 and by September, it's amazing. But yes, and basically, I had similar covered calls before, like within the range. And I still bought them back because it was just going crazy up. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious how you even kind of got into options as such a beginner, investor. I mean, it's kind of like, if I were to start dabbling in chess, I wouldn't go and play you first. I can promise you that. But it's like you're going with like the most advanced like financial tools. How did you find yourself in that situation?
Because exactly like I told you. So it's like my business partner comes to me, man, I have this strategy. Like, I trust my business partner. Okay, man, I have this strategy. You cannot lose money. Okay. He's like, okay, tell me. And he tells me about this, like this, and everything he tells me makes sense. Yes. And I can roll over and all that. And it's like, oh, wow. And then after doing it for like 5 times in a row successful, I was like, wow, Gary showed me this strategy. Like, I'm just making free money. Because like for us, we wanted just to make how many? A $500 or $1,000 a month of free money. Basically, no, it's more if it's more covered. So let's just say $1,000 a month of free money, absolutely free money. I just thought, oh, that's good, right? Why wouldn't I do this, right? And yeah, I just really learned everything about covered calls when I was on the other side. What it was, but it is actually advanced. And I had no idea it's advanced.
Yeah. I mean, for most people, I think kind of just a buy and hold recommendation is going to be the right choice. We talk a lot about options on this channel. We definitely intentionally try not to give specific financial investment advice, so we got to refrain from doing that. But with options in general and covered calls in particular, I mean the upside from a portfolio, or the downside from a portfolio perspective, is limited, right? Because you're essentially just capping your gains. So you're not, your whole portfolio can't go down any more than the equity value could go down. But it definitely can cause you to lose some sleep when they go wrong. I mean, it's the sort of thing that, like, in my experience, it's like 7 or 8 times out of 10 it works out fine, and it's free money. But then, those 2 or 3 times out of 10, it's like you're down, 3-4x, and those are painful. And maybe one time it's like down 10x too. We've had some crazy weeks where Tesla rallies like, $200 out of nowhere. So it's I was doing it for a while last year. We like Emmet said, we've dabbled with it a little bit here, but it's not for the faint of heart, I would say.
Yeah. Also, I remember when Steven Mark Ryan, he said like he never does like covered calls, never. And when he was not doing it, I was like, are you dumb? Like, why are you not doing this? Like free money. And then you learn. Yes, like maybe he was on the other side too. He knew that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just buying. Like, if you pick buying the call options at the right time on a stock that's like really disruptive and it's about to compound, like the price is about to, you could make 100x your return. When you pick those right, you get crazy returns that are like orders of magnitude higher than if you were selling covered calls for 20 years straight successfully.
Yeah.
So to me, exactly. I like the risk reward of buying calls at the opportune times. But 9 out of 10 times or more, when you buy the calls, you're probably not going to, medium short term calls, you're not going to make anything. But the 1 out of 10 times, or if you pick it right once in a while, then that one time can make up for all the times you missed it on, the other times you missed it. So it's tricky. But yeah, and then it's also like we talk about, when I went to this TeslaCon conference recently, and there's so many people there that I just got the feeling there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of their money, a lot of their savings in like call options for Tesla right now. And that has me worried. And, I think people, when they're buying call options, they should know that there's a very good chance they could, if they're out of the money call options, there's a very good chance they can expire worthless. And so you just want to buy, maybe 10% of your investment account into the call options. And then every couple of year or two when they expire, by another 10%. So you have time, and you're not like using all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So there's a lot of nuances with call options, whether you're selling them or buying them. It's tricky for sure. So
beautiful side of it. You never know. You never know.
You don't know
when is the right time to do those call options. But this something that I would still like to do more than cover. I just want to be on the other side, like on the bull side of it, like doing something. If I do something, just morally for me, I want to do it like on a call option side, just because it's a more bull than bearish with cover.
Yeah, and it is more fun. I mean, when you have those days when the stock is up 3-4% or something like that, but then your call options will be up 10-15% depending on the strike or whatever. So it is definitely, it can be fun on the way up for sure to kind of see the volatility really compound the gains over time. But they have to, they kind of need to be paired with the right psychology. I think there's a lot of people who would really fret over losing their initial capital investment. So I think if you are going to dabble in that, it has to be with a pool of funds that you don't need, and that if it did go to zero, you would be okay with that. When I first kind of dabbled into calls, I mean, that was my thinking as well. It was just, all right, if the stock is really going to 4x like I think it will soon, then this is the right move to make. But there's a good chance that the market's right and I'm wrong, and if that happens, then my investment's going to go to zero.
When did that start? When did you start doing call options for yourself, Matt?
For me, it was late 2019. So right after the Q3 earnings report hit in 2019, I just became convinced that the bear narrative didn't have any legs. And so, I had a decent amount of stock, not very much, but it was like kind of my play money account, and I was just thinking, well, if my thesis is right, and that money can 2 to 4x, like that's great. But like if I'm this right on something, and the market is this wrong, I'd rather get 100x potential or something like that. So that was the first time I'd kind of dabbled into options. I was aware of them from my financial background as a investment banking, and I was doing financial valuation before that. So kind of used it as a tool before, like a valuation tool, but had never invested personally. I would advise caution for sure.
Yeah.
So Mesgen, I have a question for you. As the only chess grandmaster I know that's a Tesla investor, I'm sure there's others out there somewhere, but as the only one I know personally that can see, maybe there's lots of variables, but maybe you could see 4 moves out in the future, whereas I can see 2 moves, 1 or 2 moves. What do you see in the future for Tesla? What do you think that, people put out a lot of analysis coming out, whether it's ARK Invest or this new, or Worm Capital they put out there now. What is your moves ahead projection?
I'll tell you. I believe Elon Musk, and if we just go by his number, if we're just gonna do, so basically what he said is gonna grow 50% every year, and what they actually do is like 80% right now. What's happening, right? And if you go lower, like below 50% but higher than 30%, you will end up somewhere near 25x by 2030. So if I just believe Elon Musk and go even more bearish than Elon Musk, then we basically in 8 to 10 years we see 25x from here. So this is, it's nothing that like my numbers. I just truly believe this guy, and like especially after like yesterday's interview and TED talk that I just released. It's just such a great
I think
Like,
that's
I don't know.
25x the revenue, right? That like 25x their revenue.
Yeah, 25x. Hence, I also think 25x stock price.
Oh wow.
From
Okay. You
yeah,
think it'll still have a
like
similar multiple to what it has now, 100 or 80 or whatever it is about now? Maybe by that time, even if it's just 30 to 50% growth it's possible. I think it's possible.
it's possible. I
That's the bearish
I
case,
don't
though.
know.
You're saying, yeah.
It just right now it just looks the company is just destroying everything, just disrupting everything in so many avenues. Just like any avenue you take, it's just so huge.
Any variation you can see, it seems like Tesla's gonna be the king of a lot of things. It sounds like it's gonna checkmate the other companies.
Anything I see, like it's just basically like all my money in, and if I would have more money, I would still buy more shares. And even I told you, like between us, like if I were to sell my chess companies, I would just still go and just directly buy shares, because I believe in Tesla more, and basically in my company, because I know they will make more money than chess companies. It's like this. It's just like nothing I can start right now as a business even will make more money than Tesla. This is why I just like, but at the same time, you have to find something for yourself. You can't just sit and wait, put money and just wait for them to accumulate. You have to have something to live with, something to be excited with. And that is the reason, one of the reasons we keep the company and want to do something new. But if we just speak financially wise, I would just put money there. If you want to make money, like just put money there and do something that you enjoy, whatever it could be, like help people or just anything.
So I have to say, from my kind of financial training, I was always told, a company 10 years from now, if they're experiencing significant growth, they're not going to have the same multiple when you after you've taken off, a decade's worth of growth. So I do think it's reasonable to assume some multiple compression over the next 10 years. But even if you're right, and they 25x the revenues, but their multiple gets cut in half. All right, well, there's still 12.5x up potential from here using those numbers. So like that's still something to get excited about. And you said your company, your chess company, is not going to make as much money as Tesla, and I think that gets to what we could definitely say about Elon, is that he's an excellent allocator of capital. He's doing kind of amazing things, and one of the things people always say about him is that he's playing 4D chess. I wonder if that's
4D chess. I mean, actually, Elon himself made some comments about chess that this is the only thing I disagree with Elon in all his entire life, that he said chess is too simple or something. Like in some of the interview or like tweet. Yeah, it was a tweet, something right now. Yeah. But it's to some degree, it's true compared to what they do, to what he does. Like chess is not simple, but if you compare to what you do, Elon, it's simple. Like true, that is true. Mm-hmm. But answering to your point, Matt, about if the company is like, it will not grow as much, but maybe it didn't even reach that level of very fast growth. Maybe it's just still in the beginning. There could be argument like that. They may be just starting, and everything is maybe just ahead.
It just seems so impossible to even think that way, because there's no precedent for a company growing to this scale. Like when you get to $1 trillion market cap, everything that we've ever learned about companies, it says, all right, their growth has to kind of flatline now, and their margins are going to get kind of eroded as they lose market share. But what they're doing instead is they're saying, okay, we're going to grow, automotive revenues 50% per year, but then we're going to release, autonomy and robo-taxis, and that's going to utterly transform the financials. And by the way, all that's going to pale in comparison to like autonomy and the Tesla bots thing. So it certainly is possible that they could grow 25x revenues from here in the next decade, and maybe the multiple is higher or the same, because they still are showing there's so much potential. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you too, is, Tesla's kind of showing what can be done with AI, and kind of I think we're just kind of scratching the surface of how AI can transform the real world. But, AI has been kind of at the heart of the chess world for several decades now. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, do you play against computers, and like, what is your thought generally of knowing that, you can never be as good of a chess player, even though you're a grandmaster, like you could probably never be like the best version of chess available just on an iPhone,
Zero. Yeah.
or
So
let
yeah,
alone Alpha Zero.
So we're basically, as humans, have no chance against computers for already basically 20 years now. And right now, from what I see, computer engine can basically give a grandmaster 2 pawns for free and can still beat them.
Jeez.
So I don't know about,
Wow.
let's say, Magnus Carlsen, a classical game. If computer gives 2 pawns to Magnus Carlsen and they play 10 games out of 10, I don't know what would be the outcome actually. Like, really, I still want to. If you ask me to bet, then I don't know. But I watched some like a fast games, not blitz games, but rather like faster games. Nakamura played against computer Komodo, I think, or something, some engine, and 2 pawns were given, yes, and computer crushed him.
Wow.
So that battle we lost, and I was just thinking about Tesla bot, basically how cool it would be when this robot gonna walk around, do some stuff, and then you're like, hey, come here, let's play chess. And then basically it sits, it just makes moves with hand, and then it has basically 3,500 level here, and you can just say, okay, play this level. You have to adjust, you have to say, okay, because it will have access to whatever level it wants, because engine, it's such a little thing, it just like downloads basically in 5 seconds right now on any computer, and it could play like best grandmaster by far in the world. And so, and you just got to think like, yeah, how it will be. Like, you always have this companion, you can basically walk with it, play chess with it, and it's like, it's crazy. It got me thinking about this access of how it would be like when the bot comes into our lives. It's crazy. It's mind blowing. It's just to think about how it will be. And chess is like such a little thing, but I'm just thinking about beyond, like,
yeah. You know what I think of like investing in the stock market as like the ultimate game in some respects. Like you talk about thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead in chess, and the variables, how the pieces can move. The stock market is like, to me, like a game that's sort of like many times more variables, many times more options, but it's still a game, And I wonder what happens if and when there's a Google DeepMind AlphaZero investing bot, and it starts it already buys all the Tesla you can buy up to $10,000 a share before we even have a chance to buy it, and it sees the board, it sees how things can play out most likely before we have a chance to, it's going to be interesting, the future with this AI and investing too. I mean, I think you'll see some multi-billion-dollar hedge funds relying on it more and more. Some already do, especially for shorter term stuff, but even for longer duration investing, I think you'll see more of it, and we'll see.
Yeah, but for most like humans like us, we're like Tesla bulls. We still buy. We buy with whatever we can, basically. So we don't miss out on this. I think if we talk about just Tesla, I don't know about other stocks, that how they're gonna play out, but it's possible that they're going to be buying out like stocks. It is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just pushed the price up to $25,000 a share today on Tesla, knowing that it'll be worth $100,000 a share in 10 years. And you just count it back to today, it's well worth $25,000. And none of us would probably be able to buy it. That we'd be like, oh, I don't know, it's too much for me. I'll buy NVIDIA or something. I don't know. We'll think of something else to buy. So we'll see.
One thing is for sure, like everything is based on just information. Chess and investing, the more information you have, the more conviction, and the more you're ready to go to do certain move.
Yeah.
So information.
So quick question for you before we're going to ask you about the charity you picked, but 1 second first is what is like your top if I'm teaching a kid, my kids how to play chess, I usually say, try to control the center of the board, try to move, your first 10 moves, see if you can make it like 10 different pieces, try to castle as soon as possible. What other beginner tip would you teach your early kids that are starting out? Like if you have other fathers watching this that are trying to teach their kids, what would be like a good beginner's tip you'd suggest for?
Yeah, so considering the kid already knowing the moves, so it's like the very first is obviously develop all your pieces to the center, towards the center, not to the side. Forget about the side, just everything towards the center. Control the center. The more pieces you get in the center, you control more. Then take care of your king, make a castle on a side that is safe, and then prepare and launch an attack. Like slowly prepare. Don't just go crazy. Just prepare after you developed, after your king is taken care of, and then slowly attack. Like start attack. It doesn't have to be. You can attack king. You can attack weak spots. You can attack weak pieces. And more or less, it's just about the control. Controls more. Don't blunder, obviously, right? And the way to prevent blunders. The biggest problem, I'll tell you, in chess is blundering. There is a way to prevent blunders.
That's just like a mistake. That's the test word for making a mistake, right?
Yeah, it's blunder is the result of loss of focus. For 1 moment, 2 moments, you forgot to ask yourself, why did my opponent go there? What does he want to do? What does she want to do? Does this piece wants to take this or not? If you just make this little questions, can he take something for free? Can she take something for free? Can I go there? Is my piece safe here? In any of the pieces of their pieces, take my piece. If you just ask these simple questions every time, it avoids the blunder. And if you do it every time, it avoids the blunder. So because the biggest problem in chess, let's say 1500 and below. So let's say if you were 1500 and below, is blundering. So there is strategy about developing the pieces, castle and attack, and about blunders. Once that is settled, you're basically, if you don't blunder anymore, you're basically 1400 and up going forward.
Good tip.
And openings is already something specific, very specific, where you can learn openings, end games. You can learn.
And you can find all this stuff on YouTube these days. It's crazy. And one other...
there's so many. There's so many channels. It's crazy. Like I recommend international master Eric Rosen. He's a very good content creator. Levi Rosman is right now is a top influencer in chess. Hikaru Nakamura, he plays a lot. But this is just fun stuff. There's also like learning material. So try to, if you want to go deeper, learn, then there's so many chess sites and YouTube, just you can just watch lessons, not just try to. If you're just gonna watch blitz games, but let's say you're kind of playing fast chess, you're not gonna learn much.
That's true.
Because the guy is operating on a different level, and you're just like watching, trying to understand what's happening. You can't even catch up what's happening. So. Yeah, better to learn.
Yeah, one of like the cool is like one of the tips you told me. I remember that stuck with me. That made a big difference. I never knew is to think of like there's different points, but think of like the bishop as like 3.1 or 3.2 points versus a knight, which is 3 points. You don't necessarily want to sacrifice. You don't want to trade a bishop for a knight because a bishop is a little more valuable in the end game, especially, right?
Yeah, a bishop more valuable in open positions, knight more valuable in the closed position. So what they teach right now that the bishop is 3 points, knight is 3 points, when in fact bishop is a little bit more, is like 3.5 points, because most of the positions are open and it's a long range piece, which a knight is like a short range piece. And let's say even like think like that. For example, you're in an end game. If all your pawns on one side, let's say on the right side, on the king side, then knight is better. If you have two sides, pawns there and there, then bishop is better because it hits that two diagonals, basically longer range. So it depends on what situation. I'm gonna even give you one more tip that you for sure didn't know about. Okay.
Tell me.
Let's say it's in an end game.
Okay.
Let's say if you have a knight and queen, and knight and bishop and queen. So basically, you have bishop and queen. Your opponent has knight and queen. What is better to have?
I'm gonna go unorthodox and say the knight and queen is better. I don't know. I'm just gonna guess. Is that right?
Matt, what do you think? Knight and queen.
I'll take the bishop and queen, just to be different. I'm probably like at level 700. So actually, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a very good explanation that actually it's for sure true. Knight and queen are better because they don't repeat each other. So knight and queen moves differently. They don't copy each other. And bishop can move like queen and queen can move like bishop. So they repeat each other a little bit. So knight and queen is better than the bishop and queen. Where if you take a rook, now bishop and rook better than knight and rook, because bishop and rook, they're like queen now.
Wow.
Go diagonal and that's long range. And knight and rook, not that strong as bishop. So this is like a very little tiny, this is like very advanced stuff, but still something you could memorize and make it as a rule.
Cool. Thanks, Mesgen. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, I guess at the end of our chats, we usually ask our guests like a charity they've thought of that, will donate. I think we're donating $5,000 now per interview, right, Matt, going forward. So, Mesgen,
that is amazing.
Yeah, we're just trying to.
I'll tell you, yes. I'll tell you that even this little story about this organization is when I heard, I didn't know that you guys do this, but I even double checked yesterday with. So there's a chess parent. She's the mom of my student. Her name is Alice, and she was involved for many years with this program called Kids Against Hunger. Maybe you heard of them or not. So when they started, they were sending food, packed food to Africa, to all underdeveloped countries where there's really hunger happening. And they were packing, so they basically go to schools, they involve all the kids, all the parents, they just really pack foods and they really ship it to destinations. And I was wanted to check what's the status right now, what they're doing right now. So right now they are packaging food and sending to the refugees of the Ukraine. So basically all the people who are suffering in Ukraine. It was very important for me because I didn't want to pick a organization that supports war in any way, like buying military and stuff like that. I'm not into that. I don't want any people to get harmed or killed by any extra weapon. But like for refugees, what they do right now, they're going to send food to the refugees. They're doing packages and they're sending to the Ukraine or to the boards of Ukraine. So it's called Kids Against Hunger. That's the organization. That's what they do right now. That's where I would really like to you to donate. I myself donated to them. I was one of the first donators to that company, and I just really love what they do. And I have a firsthand seeing every time they send me the videos how it's all happening. So it's very legit, very, very like amazing company, organization that does this. So this would be the Kids Against Hunger.
Great. Well, we will definitely do that, and we will make sure we get the word out on them. We'll include the link in the description on our video as well.
Yeah, I will provide the links and everything.
Great.
Yeah.
And where can people find you, Mesgen? Is you have a website for your firm, your company, or your Twitter handle, right? We'll put it in the bottom of the description for people.
So if they have like any personal questions, Twitter is easy. Just Mesgen Amanov, they can find me like this. If they want to find me on a professional side, on the chess side, they could go to improvemychess.com or limitlesschess.com, and emails are listed there. They could find me on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
So they can find me anywhere. Basically, I always interact with all the chess enthusiasts. None of my students, they just text me and I just like randomly, but I still reply. I reply to everyone. Yeah. So Good. Just like, easy to find me.
Awesome.